Thank you to EA for asking me to build for The Sims 4 Enchanted by Nature. And a quick disclaimer that the software that you see in this video is not final. If you've seen my other video or you've seen the Sims news post, I was asked to build 3 lots for The Sims 4 Enchanted by Nature. I was asked to build one in each neighborhood, so I have built the Whistling Thistle Gardens, the Star Song Lounge, and 8 Gnome Coast Street, which is the build that I'll be showing in the speed build today. And before we get into the actual speed build, if you would like to buy this pack, I would appreciate it if you used my creator code. It is not a discount code, but it does help to support me. Now we can finally see me building this wonderful gnome lover's home, which is located in the coastal neighborhood of Innis Green, which I believe is called the Coast of Admore, and it is home to Glen Nhoam, who is a gnome lover. He, like, when I was first learning about all of the Sims and the houses that we were going to be building for the pack, I was told that he wrote gnome fan fiction, which I absolutely loved. I was like, wow, he is such a king for that, and I would definitely read his gnome fan fiction if I could. Like, through the whole process, every time I would learn something, all I could think about was like, my friends would be so excited. Like, I wish that they could know all of these little things about this because I knew that one of my friends would love this guy, and I felt like a lot of them would find it really funny that I was asked to build a home for someone who wrote gnome fan fiction. They think it's very fitting. Not that I write gnome fan fiction. I mean, I would if I could. I'm not much of a writer. I don't think I'm that creative, but I was so happy to have been like asked to build this one. I was like a little bit nervous to build this house though because I'm not much of a like built up town builder. I like to build in the woods where there's not really a lot of buildings surrounding my build. And this one had to kind of blend in with the world a little bit and make sense and be like very colorful, which if you see my builds too, um they don't have a whole lot of color in them. They're usually very natural and a lot of wood tones, and the color I use is usually green, which I did use in this. So when I was looking at my build and I didn't know where to start, I was like, okay, I'm going to use yellow and green because I love those two colors. And then I'm going to build from there. And so then I ended up incorporating some other accent colors into it, just to make it more vibrant and make more sense for like what the theme was going to be. I was also told that this neighborhood would use a lot more base game assets and we could sprinkle in some of the new pack items here and there. So I got a little bit sneaky and I was like putting in some items that were very whimsical, but I thought made a lot of sense for his house. And so I was like, you know what? I feel like this wasn't what they meant when they said we could sprinkle it in, but I'm gonna do it anyway. And there were no complaints. I was just imagining in my head, I guess, that there would have been. And they actually really loved this first draft of my house. So you'll see it transform over time. You'll see more items being added here and there. So, like, the first part of this, the interior is mostly just placeholder items that I put down just so that the team could get an understanding of my floor plan and what my vision would be before I actually put in the items that would stay. But I was really happy and excited that I was able to use more of the pack items in this build because I think it does a really good job at showing how this more whimsical decor can blend in with a neighborhood like this and blend in with some of the base game items without being like really in your face. So I know that like there's probably people who think that they won't get much use out of these items after they make their fairy builds and stuff. And I hope that this build can kind of show that you can definitely use it in your like everyday family gameplay homes if that's sort of your building style. And I really love that little window on the roof there, that's his woodworking shed, and I figured that I could put something like that on the roof over there because it's like he built that shed himself and he wanted it to be very unique and be very him. And so rather than having it on the actual house, which maybe would have been a bit much, I thought it made sense for his shed, and I really love it. When I was doing this, I was feeling like he would want to live in a home that kind of looks like a gnome would live there. Like maybe there's like aspects of it that you would find in like a garden decoration, and also that his gnomes are more so his roommates to him, and he has this house and decorates this house with the intention that it is benefiting his gnomes and that his gnomes like this style. That's like what I was thinking for him. I realized I could also explain my thought process for the shape, and it was really just taking a look at some of the like shells behind the build and like building off of that, and I knew I wanted like an upper balcony, and so the shape just happened that way. I did have like one draft right before this one that I ended up deleting that was like kind of similar to this, but I feel like this version was just it looked a lot nicer, and it was also bigger because that was what I was worried about for this build, was that I would make it too small and then the floor plan would be a little bit weird. Like, a lot of the times when I'm building just for myself, I don't really think of the floor plan at all when I'm building, and I just hope for the best when I do get inside. But for all of these builds, I really had to think about the interior even before I finalized the outside, which was very different for me. And that was something that you'll find I had to put a lot more thought into and planning for my Star Song Lounge, which I don't know the order that I'm uploading these in. I think I think that the Whistling Thistle Gardens is going to be the first one, and that voiceover, I was crying so much, not in it, but I had to stop like multiple times because I was getting emotional. And today I am feeling better that I'm not getting emotional and choked up about every little thing. And so that's my emotional voiceover. And then I haven't done the Star Song Lounge one yet, but I think that might be the second video that I upload, and this might be the last one. I don't know. You would know now because you'll have like seen them up on my channel, but I do have a speed build for each of them, and I hope that the voiceovers all touch on different things about the experience, because I'm worried about it being repetitive considering I have like 3 videos and they're all going to be about an hour long. But I do feel like this one and the Whistling Thistle Garden ones is at least very different, because that one I spent a lot of time just getting into my emotions and my feelings and how much this means to me. And once again, I will thank the Sims team for considering me for this pack and having faith in me and trusting my vision and creativity. It really meant a lot, and it was a really pleasant experience. Like, through all of this, I put so much pressure on myself, which I knew was going to happen. Like, if you are tasked with building something that like the entire Sims community is going to have in their game, it's a little bit intimidating and scary, because it's like at first it's a whole bunch of excitement, and then suddenly it all hits you that a pack that a lot of people have been wanting is going to have your builds in it, and being really nervous that you're not going to do it right and that people aren't going to like your builds. But so far, it's been a lot of positive feedback, which really means a lot to me. It makes me so happy as a little builder. I also wanted to build something that people who have watched my videos and have watched me grow and like seen me like reach these different goals of mine, that they could like see the builds in the game and they could be proud that it is one of my builds and that they know me and that they listen to me talk weekly on my channel. I said I was so proud of myself for not getting emotional yet, and then I start getting emotional in that part. But I had to take a little bit of a break from doing voiceover because my throat was hurting like really bad from all the talking that I was doing for like everything that I was working on. And also we have a heat wave here in New York, and it has been miserable and I can't have my fan off for too long in my room because we don't have central air. And so the house gets cooled by like, oh, an AC unit and then fans. And I can't have my fan on because it picks up so loudly um in my mic. Well, it doesn't get picked up, but my mic fights the fan and tries to like cut it out, and because of that, it like breaks up my voice a lot and makes it me sound like a robot when it's happening. So I'm hoping that I can get these done in a timely manner where I'll be able to upload them when I want to upload them. But enough about my fan and the heat wave. I decided on base game windows for this one because you could see that I used the pack doors, and also I end up using the pack doors inside. I think at first I have base game ones and then I switched them out, but I really liked the green swatch on the base game windows. I feel like it was a really good pop of color with the yellow that I had already picked out, and the wallpapers on the outside change a little bit. I used some more vibrant ones. I believe that at some point we got new base game paint swatches, which I think has already been in the game like since recording this. So I think you would have had seen all the new base game swatches and stuff, but I then switched the yellows out to the newer ones, and I think I changed the green to the pack swatch, which is like the mossy roof, not mossy roof, the mossy walls, which looks really good, and I use on the inside too. But yeah, I decided that the pop of the darker green looked really nice in contrast with the lighter colors, and it also worked with the stairs and the foundation, and it tied everything together really well, which I really liked. You'll see that there is a big skip, and I've placed down a lot of the furniture inside. It's all like placeholder stuff, so I didn't think it was that interesting to watch me map out just what items is going to be where. So I picked it back up where I start to pick out some gnomes because I think the gnome placement is the most important in this house because he loves his gnomes, and I wanted to make sure that there was a gnome in a lot of the rooms of his house. I also had seen this like swimming gnome, and I thought it would be cute to have it in the bathroom as if it's like kind of waiting to take a bath in the bathtub over there. I thought it was really fitting for him. And something that a lot of people definitely don't know about me is that when I started posting video game content, I was streaming on Twitch, and I loved gnomes, and at the time I was mostly playing Animal Crossing, and I've met a lot of my friends through me touring dream addresses where I like give gnome placement advice. So it felt very like full circle to be doing this build, which like I feel like no one would have known that. The Sims team wouldn't have known that. So it was like a major coincidence, I think. Because this was so long ago. This was back in like end of 2020, beginning of 2021, where I stepped into my gnome era. And I also was doing the 100 baby challenge on my stream, and I had a gnome for every donor. And at one point, the gnomes just took over my entire house, and it was too much for me to move because at first they were to like memorialize the Sims, and then the like during the holidays they come to life and they would all gather around the TV, and so it became almost like a gnome maze for my Sims toddlers to have to like crawl through because the gnomes would just take up my entire house. And so when I was tasked with building a gnome house, I was like, I know that my friends who watched all of that will find it really funny and feel like this was the perfect fit for me. That if I was building for a Sims pack, it had to have like gnomes in it at some point. And when I was asked to build for the pack, and I was just thinking about ideas and stuff, I was like, I wonder if I could get away with just having a hidden gnome somewhere in a house. And I didn't even have to do that. I didn't have to hide anything because this house just needed a whole bunch of gnomes literally everywhere. So I didn't need to try and be sneaky and hide a gnome in a random closet or something. And when I had heard of all the lots and stuff, this neighborhood I was the most nervous about possibly building for, only because I didn't think that I would do it very well. And this was one of the lots where I was like, wow, that would be really cool if I could build that one. But I don't know about that because I don't think that I'm very good at building houses like this. I didn't feel extremely confident with it because if you've seen my videos, I do build a lot of naturey builds. That's sort of like, I want to say 90% of my builds is like that. And then maybe even more, I'd say like 98%. And then the rest is sometimes Strangerville and my Copperdale save file that I've been working on. But that's like it. So I was like, I don't know if I'll be able to do this sort of town well, but I do think that the end result, I feel like it came out good. I'm happy with how it looks, especially when I decide to add some more interesting details on the exterior because I didn't want my builds to all just be very basic and I wanted to try and experiment with things. And so when I finished my first like draft of this, I knew I needed to add something a little bit more unique to the exterior. And I was playing around with a lot of different things and a lot of things that I ended up just deleting and not returning back to. So I would save my build and then I would try and do it again. And then if I didn't like how it turned out, I would just return back to the save where everything was normal again and nothing was ruined. Like I tried to experiment with rounded rooms towards the front of the builds, but I felt like it took away from like everything else. And also, it made the kitchen a very strange shape because I was really trying to make it so that the rooms made sense and that it didn't feel like odd or an afterthought where suddenly there's a round piece and now the kitchen layout is very different and looks kind of like horrible horrible in my opinion at least. You'll see what I decide on a little bit later. I mostly am using like the foundation piece to create almost like a fake landscape box with gnomes in it to almost be like a gnome sculpture attached to the house. That was my thought process of it because I wanted this place to feel like maybe he bought this house and it blends in with the surrounding buildings and this is sort of the style the town is in, but he is continuously changing it to better like represent who he is, which you'll see with like I would imagine he switched out the original doors and stuff and he maybe painted the windows to be this other green and he renovated the like garden area and he has his personal shed that he built with his unique windows, so it's like everything that the house was, he's updating to better represent him. And he's a woodworker, so I thought that he would have done most of this himself and he would have personally built these sort of like gnome structures attached to his house that he could be very proud of and people would walk by and they'd want to stop and be like, oh my god, this random guy has this like gnome exhibit in his front yard. And I just realized he literally lives across the street from a gnome exhibit museum that was built by the Sims Scrolls. This is just his dream neighborhood. And before I forget, I would like to talk about some of the new items that I did use on the exterior that I think blend it really well together with the base game assets. So I used the roof trim. That's a new trim from the pack. I really love that green color. I think it really helps to like be a good contrast with the darker base game roof that has sort of messy shingles. Of course, the roof piece on the shed is new too. It has little mushrooms on it. I absolutely love that piece. I'm gonna be using it a lot. We did get a couple new like roof decor items, which are really nice. The lights, I wanted to say lamp and light, and I couldn't figure out which one. But the exterior lights is also new. I put one at the shed and also on like near the other doors. So the front door and the side entrance has one in this video. The doors are new, which I mean, they look brand new, so I'm sure you got that part. But I love the red swatches of the new items. I love the yellow swatches. My color palettes and my builds really came together based off of the new build buy items, which really helped to inspire me and get a direction for the builds because I didn't have a lot of plans when I was mapping out what I wanted to do. I had come up with some shapes, but I don't know if I mentioned it in this video or if I mentioned it in my last like video with the park that I built, but I had like rough ideas of the shapes that I was going to go for, and then as soon as I got the actual lot, I kind of just threw all of that out the window and I just needed to build based on the environment, the lot size, and like what is right around it. So I really just like didn't have many plans besides just going right into it and letting the new items guide me through it. And you could see that I'm using the new green walls that are the mossy walls that I really, really love. And I think really like worked well in here. It adds a little bit of texture. I use it on the inside too. It's a really beautiful, simple wall that blended well with the environment and also with the other items that I used. I also used the new columns and fence pieces. I really liked blending in the new fence with the purple hedges. I felt like it really helped to break it up and make it look a little bit more interesting. So I really like the effect of that. And the new gates are also out there. I do have the like one of the new stone pathways, but I do end up just changing it to terrain paint later on because it just made more sense. And I feel like it flowed a little bit more naturally. And you could see I'm putting in more items to just fill up the space a little bit so that I could get an idea of where I wanted certain things to be as more items got added. And when I actually was starting to pick out the color palette for the interior, because I wanted to make sure that the Sims team liked this layout and this direction before I really just went all in. Because I had 3 builds to make, so I wasn't going to submit my first thing to be everything that I have and like all of my ideas and like every single item picked out because I would have had to do that for all 3 builds. So the inside is really just placeholder items and a lot of it changes. I don't think that I show all of it. I don't remember because at one point I either forgot to record or I decided not to record when I was picking out the colors. It's likely to be either one because sometimes I feel too much pressure if I know that I have a recording going, and if I'm taking so long, I'm thinking about afterwards and like my storage space. But this part is the sort of like gnome structure that I was talking about. I played around with a lot of different things for this. I tried terrain at first, but it felt very messy, and I wanted the outside to feel very manicured and put together. So I didn't want to have like a very messy sloping terrain on the build because it did not look good. And I'm really happy with this sort of plan instead. And see, there was a giant leap because it took me so long to figure out, but you could see that I left in this part where I'm showing me bringing it to the back. And I can explain it a little bit better now. It is just like almost like a deck without a fence, and it is more so supposed to feel like a raised flower box or flower bed, is what I was thinking, except I put some decor items in it. I believe the gnomes moved down because there's a routing issue with Sims, which could have caused issues in gameplay. But Some I don't know what it ends up looking like, I don't remember, so I guess we'll have to see later, but yeah, I just had it raised up a little bit. It uses half walls with sort of like the same color green that the base of it has. I think I switch out the foundation over there to a lattice foundation, so it helps to define it a little bit more too. And I use some of the new grass flooring in the box as well. And in the front, I have flowers in it, which looks really pretty. The one in the back is a little bit smaller, so I don't know if I put flowers in it. I haven't really watched this footage since editing it, which at this point was a little bit ago. So I'm not as on top of what ends up actually being the end result of it. But I guess we'll see. Yeah, see, I guess I do put flowers in it. And I was playing around with the idea of potentially having a door leading from the dining room into that like flower box, but it didn't make a lot of sense, and I would have had to change up the dining room and make it a little bit bigger so a door would be able to fit. But I also didn't see a purpose in Sims like walking over there. I think it was the gnomes that, yeah, the gnomes are moved down because if your sim was trying to view them, it would cause an issue. But the little bird bath was completely fine. So the bird bath stays in with some pretty flowers in the back. And I put a bench outside, and now I'm just adding some more items here and there. So this is when we got some new items in. And the first thing I add inside is this beautiful mirror, which I thought was really, really pretty. I love that mirror. I hyped up the mirror in my park speed build. It's going to be a go-to of mine. And there was some new rugs that have some really fun patterns and really beautiful like designs. I've used in some of just my other speed builds with early access, which I'll be posting that isn't like an official lot building video. I use those outside, sort of like a picnic blanket with books, and I think it looks really magical and beautiful outside as well. You could see some of the items that I'm looking at for the first time in game and finding where I think that they would fit into his house. And this is where the build really starts to like I start to discover his color palette a little bit more and everything becomes a lot brighter. I switched out the other base game cabinets to these, well, at the time they were brand new base game items, but they've been in the game for some time since this now, but it was new to me, and so I wanted to fit them into this kitchen. And I love the yellow cabinets paired with some of the more colorful appliances and the red door. Like when I began my build, I knew I was going to go with green and yellow because those are just colors I feel comfortable using. And then I slowly incorporate some more colors here and there. So I use some more accent colors of blue and red around the place. I really liked the use of the primary colors as the accent colors, and it brought in more of a gnome feel to me and a gnome color palette. And now I'm switching out some of the items to some of the new pack stuff that I thought would blend in well with the base game items, which I spoke about it in my park build a little bit about how maybe people will think that some of these items won't fit into their regular houses or their like everyday gameplay saves. And I really think you can blend them in at least some of the pieces because I love using sort of antique looking furniture. And so some of the items give that feel to me personally. Maybe others would disagree. And I have like these just brown wooden swatches right now at this table, but I end up bringing in some more yellow and red swatches for the dining room. So this will end up changing, but I was really just putting what I guess I was comfortable with placing, which is the dark wood swatch of items, and then building off of that to try and make it way more colorful, which doesn't come very natural for me. So it's something that I have to put more effort and attention into, or else I go on autopilot and I start just placing down what I would usually just use in every single one of my builds. I did spend a little bit of time playing around with different rug placements because I didn't want the rugs to feel repetitive around the place. But I mean, the gnome rug has to be like the first thing you see when you walk into his home. And I do change it to the blue swatch because I was looking at like how much blue and how much red I had in each room to see if I could add just a little bit more to like the spaces. And you can see some more of the like pack items that I used. I love the way the archways look in this home, and I think that the new archways can be used in pretty much any house. There is a bit of a wood grain to it, which I really love and I think would work really well in a lot of builds. We don't have a lot of like small archways in the game. And so this one I think is going to be another go-to of mine. I'm using the more yellow swatch, but there are some different wood swatches of that one too, which I love the swatches and the color palettes of the items in the pack. They all look really, really good. You could also see some of the new single tile bookcases that came with the pack. Those are really beautiful. I love the natural branches and stuff. And up here is his fan fiction room where he can write all of his gnome fan fiction. There is a area for him to sit down, which changes a little bit. I like change up and use one of the new like chairs that came in the pack, which is really, really pretty. And maybe you could see that I switched out the doorways to like the bathroom and stuff. Down here, I use I think it's a red swatch over there. It's hard to see from here. And now I'm just going around and seeing what else I want to add to the build and maybe if I want to change up some of the accent walls a little bit. I don't think you'll see every little bit of changes that I make and what I decided on in the end and what will make it to like the final product of each of my builds, which you'll be able to see on July 10th when the pack comes out, which is really exciting. It's so soon. It is wild to think about because I feel like I was working on this so long ago now. And I know that people had seen the park in like the release stuff so far, but people haven't seen this build or my lounge yet. So I was so excited to be able to post this so you could get a better look at it. And I am hoping to have a tour video of my lots. I don't know when I'm going to do that. I don't know if I'm going to just wait until the day of release and load up the game and show everything and just experience my builds for the first time in it being officially released. And I also love this bedroom. I wanted to comment on. I loved being able to use the more whimsical wallpaper in this build in a couple of places because I felt like it would be special to him. He would really love having that. The bed I changed to a blue like bedding bed. It's such a strange way to say it, but I end up changing it to a different bed because I liked having some more blue around the place, like I said earlier, where I was trying to see like the balance of colors and what rooms could use a little bit more of my accent colors. I really love how the interior came out because this is so different for me building with this much color and like not a whole lot of dark natural wood tones. It was a lot of fun and I feel like it has a very playful energy to the builds and I used a lot of cute little like I think it's in the kids decor but cute naturey things like a ladybug rug and like these sorts of paintings around the place with little critters around, I thought he would enjoy having in his house. And there's like the decals of the trees that I put, I think, in a couple places of the build. There's one behind the TV. I thought created like a fun, interesting thing that broke up some of the wall, especially so I didn't get repetitive with the same sort of wall art in the build. I wanted to have some sort of variety, and I felt like those sorts of murals took up a good amount of space. I really enjoyed building something that was unique and different for my sorts of builds. I think it came out really nice, and you could see some screenshots that I just recently had taken. You'll be able to see the dining room and how I changed that a little bit too. I guess I didn't record that part, but I really love all of the accent colors and what they bring into each of these rooms. And if you'd like to see all of the other builds, I have the other lot builders listed below that you could check out all of their content and see all of our builds together. It was really great to work on this pack with such incredible simmers and to have all of our work featured together. This was so special to me, and I'd like to thank everybody for being a part of it with me, and thank you for watching.